another build by the Wolfpack. This is a Laceration warrior. I like to name most of my builds just so when I refer people to them, they know exactly what I'm talking about. This is, for all intents and purposes, a bunker condition build. So, being melee, our options are swords as a warrior for condition damage. I've gone with dual swords. This gives us access to bleeds, cripples, as well as a block with riposte and a torment, which is fairly powerful here. As you can see, it goes up to 15,000 damage. The bleeding typically lasts 18 seconds, 2,200. My skills are typically, but not always, Endure Pain, Berserker's Stance, Signet of Stamina, and the Signet of Rage. I enjoy using Berserker's Stance with Endure Pain during Zerg fights. If I need to dive in or dive out, that gives you at least 4 seconds of invulnerability while both are active. Stamina allows you to dodge if you get pinned with massive conditions, all 8 or more stacks going on you. You can just cleanse them with the Signet of Stamina and again try to hop back out. You also have the option of a block. Riposte is a very good block. Technically gives you more block than the shield with a warrior does, because it is a, I believe, 2.25 second block, and it will block all range attacks for that duration. However, if an enemy attacks you from the front, it will riposte and bleed the enemy. But as you can see in the following video, there will be a time where I'm guessing a ranger tries to rapid shot me, so I block all of his shots and I survive. Our secondary weapon, our ranged choice, is going to be the longbow. I believe the combustive shot at full charge will do around 20,000 burn damage, a 9-second cooldown, as fast as you can get it up, and Berserker's Stance helps get that up as well. That's a powerful AoE to drop on enemy groups in Zerg fights. Then you have the option of pin down, which will do 19,000 without having your Signet of Rage on, which gives you might, so bear in mind that gives you a little bit of damage there as well. And then you have fan fire. Those are your two main things for the condition warrior on here. You won't really do a lot of damage with a dual shot. Arcing arrow can still hit 1,500 or a little higher. Not amazing at all, but it's something. And then you always have the blind there as well, which is nice as a defensive option. Something I chose to give the dual shot was the Sigil of Ice. I chose this as another condition option to apply, and because there's a 30% chance on hit, a dual shot hits twice, I kind of look at it that is 60% chance every 10 seconds. Because that was 2 shots again. My weapons are all dire, I believe. Yeah. They are all dire because I wanted maximum tanking capabilities with as much condition damage as I could apply. So basically, we're max condition damage, and it's between dire and I believe it is Sentinel armor, I think, is about 2,000 health. So really, 2,000 health, drop all of the majority of your damage from the. If you want, I wouldn't do that myself. That's why I prefer having the option of condition damage at least with more 90-95% tank going on here. We have a pretty high armor, 3,200. And then we have about 1,580 condition damage currently on the longbow. A little higher on the sword, 1,680. Our crit chance is 26, buffed by Signet of Rage, which makes it about 46% chance. So you're critting fairly often. you'll notice it well enough, and you can crit with the swords typically somewhere around 700, which in itself, it being every half second, is a fairly decent attack, especially when you factor in that you are then applying 18-second bleed for 2000 damage. And you can see that, especially in dungeons where the bosses have high health and nobody else is running condition builds, you can stack upwards 3400 bleed tick per tick. So your bleeds will go 3400 per second, and that is compounded with the impale, torment damage, and with our rune set we're also going to apply poison damage via using our signet evade. So now our signet buffed further. It not only gives us fury, 5 might, swiftness, all for 30 seconds. It then applies, I think it says 8 seconds, but I believe it gives roughly 10 seconds on at least the bleeding because of the condition duration and the food that we have. And our food is basically a condition food, duration food. It can be kale saute maybe, but this is just super veggie pizzas because they're cheap, and I don't miss the extra 4%. I'd rather have the gold myself. For the most part, we are kind of half and half exotic and ascended right now. I've kind of newly created this character recently. My back piece is not particularly ideal, but it's okay. It's got precision on it instead. Precision, toughness, condition damage is the same. Hymn to the prophets until I can then get the plague idol, I believe. I accidentally deleted it, unfortunately, which was a sad day for me because 30 laurels just went down the drain. And then I have Vassar's Band and Relena's Band and Fangs of Tequatl currently. So moving from there, the armor set again is full dire with crate rooms. Crate rooms are very cheap. Dire armor itself is probably going to run 5 gold a piece, roughly, or better for you if you chose to go with this. My sigils on the weapons will be Bloodlust. Let's buff our power a little bit because we relatively have very little. And then we get, the second one is Boasting, so add to our condition damage with that. We don't really need duration. We'll just go with the straight 6%, and that is a fairly expensive sigil, so be aware of that. Our second sigil on the longbow was a sigil of Smoldering, 20% to increase our bone effect AoE in fights. Going to our trait line, we have 06602. Potentially add some more damage and walk slower with, I believe, dual wielding. You can increase your damage by 5% because we are dual wielding swords currently. That's a slightly add additional power to your build if you felt like it. I prefer warriors sprinting world versus world for running people down and getting away if necessary. That compounds goes hand in hand pretty well with the signet, healing signet, where you kind of balance diving in and then diving away to heal up and diving back in as much as possible. There's not a lot of diving out of battle with this build because you are dire and you have a fair good ability to tank a lot of stuff. So our trait lines, as you can see, is 3, 8, 13. What those are is deep cuts, so bleeds are lasting 50% longer, buffing the sword. Blade Master, 10% increase, so technically we're at like 56% crit chance now using the swords. And then dual wield agility, speed up your strikes by 10%. The pain again, so we have a second endure pain when we need it most, when you're right down there at that quarter health. You have balanced stance for stability because on our skill bar we lack it. That will help you or save you quite often, which is a pretty typical thing that most warriors will run on a lot of builds. Just reduce condition duration and give you some healing. And again, if you missed it, it is Warrior's Sprint at the bottom for the passive speed boost. So this basically gives us more crit chance, more condition damage, toughness, and healing, but that's not so important at all. Our minor traits in this build, it's precise strikes, more precision, more bleeding. Crit burst, critical chance on both skills. I don't really use my F1 on the swords too much. I'm usually just spamming my 1 on top of them. I choose to typically just switch to my longbow when I want to immobilize somebody, because usually they run away from you. Or I just use the adrenaline regen that comes from the defense line and leave it on while I'm in melee. And increase damage to bleeding foes. So this buffs your main sword, your standard damage by 10% once they're bleeding. So basically every time you strike them, they're bleeding, so you always get that 10% boost. And down here on defense, you have thick skin, extra armor above 90%, makes it harder to drag you down initially. Adrenaline health, roughly 100 some healing per second. It comes out as that 405 basically every 3 seconds, so that divides out. And then you have the armored attack toughness converted to power, 10%. We have high toughness, why not? And your minor down here in discipline is versatile rage, gain adrenaline on weapon swap. From here, the following videos are going to be both stress tests, basically in Zerg fights, some skirmishes, and roaming fights, both in Edge of the Mists, camps, just wandering around fighting people, with the build spiking them down with the, which can go upwards 800 some a second itself, and again compounding that with the torment or bleed damage that we can apply. In War vs. World and stuff, it's fairly easy to get 1900 bleeds per second on a player, even though they're removing things. It's fair enough to say that you can get upwards of about 24 to 2600 on some players. You don't typically see a 3400 like you would in a dungeon, because they've either died, they've cleansed, or they ran away. That's the usual scenario there. So you never really see your max bleed potential unless they're super tanky without, too many condition removals, but a Guardian's going to throw all that off pretty quick. However, being that your sword is a very fast condition weapon, applying at least keeping the bleeds on is not difficult. And final thrust, because you have 56% crit chance, once they are under 50% health, I've seen it crit for 3600 several times. That may or may not be with Rage, Signet of Rage on, probably is. Also, something I should mention, the poison damage on this does roughly 300 a tick. And from there, we'll just go with the video footage, guys, and thanks for watching.
show.